Please be advised that the views and opinions of the host and guests do not reflect those of the station, the management, and its network.
Happy New Year po to all our countahans. Isang bagong taon na naman. I am Atty. Al and welcome to our first episode for 2022 of People's Court. And with me is my People's Court partner, Judge Jing Nolasco. Happy New Year, Judge Jing.
Happy New Year din, Atty. Al, at salamat sa iyong pagbati. No? At Happy New Year po sa ating mga kahuntahan. Ako po ulit si Judge Jing Nolasco, isa pong dating hukom. And I wish po that may 2022 be a better and safer year for all of us. And gaya po ng sinabi ni Atty. Al, welcome po to our pilot episode for 2022 of People's Court, kung saan ay mas matututunan ninyo ang tungkol sa batas sa simpleng pamamaraan.
Judge, so kamusta naman ang New Year celebration ninyo?
Well, nakakapagod pero masaya, Al, kasi hectic talaga ang preparations namin pagka yung anong ang tawag doon sa midnight meal ng New Year. Kasi
Medianoche.
Yeah. Kung Noche Buena sa Christmas Eve, Medianoche yun, di ba? So parang ang naging tradisyon na sa pamilya, alam mo yung akala mo last meal lagi, yung parang bibitayin, yung Medianoche, o parang ganun. So talagang punong-puno, pero masaya. So we do that after prayers and after konting paputok, yun ang ano namin. Eh ikaw naman, Al, kamusta naman ang iyong celebration ng New Year?
Thank you, Judge Jing. No, I can just imagine how fun at saya doon sa New Year celebration ninyo. No? Well, in my case, I celebrated it with my family, and like you, tradition din ang salo-salo. Naghanda ng food, pero di ako nagluto. Taga-kain lang talaga ako every time. Di rin ako nagpaputok. Mga kapitbahay lang nagpaputok. No? In-enjoy ko na lang ang mga paputok nila. It was heartening to see, no, that despite the pandemic, the calamities, and the economic hardships, positive pa din ang attitude na ating mga kababayan. Dapat talaga ganon, no? We meet every New Year with hope and positivity. As they say, things will just get better.
Eh pagdating naman, Al, sa New Year's resolutions, plans, goals this year, are you willing to give us and our kahuntahans an insight about those? Especially since, mga dear kahuntahans, ito na po, I'll spill the beans. It's his birthday month.
Oh, okay. Ikaw talaga, Judge, so nalaman na tuloy na ating mga kahuntahan na birthday months ko. Magpapadala niya ng mga gifts.
Sana.
At dahil dyan, magkasamang New Year's resolution at birthday wish ang gusto ko. For this year, I want more time para sa sarili ko at sa mga gusto kong gawin. The past year was very busy and I gave more time for others. Okay. I'm not complaining though, no? Because that's what we do as lawyers and as educators. Pero sa taong ito, gusto kong mag-relax at mag-travel within the allowed restrictions, of course. At gusto ko rin simulan this year ang legacy ko, and that is a series of textbooks in civil law.
Wow! Wow naman! Grabe!
Pero syempre, mas gusto ko na mauna ka muna, Judge, no? Magkaroon ka rin na sarili mong book because I mean, it's about time, no? You have so many experience and you have so many things to share.
No, yeah. Gusto ko rin sana yun, Atty. Al, no? Magsulat ng libro. Pero yung series of civil law textbooks ako, parang hindi ko kaya.
Ilan lang naman
pwede
yun?
Pwede ba pahiram na lang isang topic? Magko-concentrate na lang ako na sa isang ganon. Okay. So, actually, last year ko pa sana pinlano yun na magsulat din ng libro. Pero sabi nga, may plano tayo, pero sometimes God has other plans for us. And even if hindi ako nakasulat ng libro last year, ito naman ang binigay. So it's a blessing, no? Itong show natin na hindi man natuloy yung libro, meron namang ibang project, which is ito nga pong People's Court para po sa inyo, our dear kahuntahans. At yung mga iba naman, no, yung mga iba ko pang New Year's resolutions and goals, actually,
Bago, nag-iiba ba yun every year?
Merong carry over. Kasi ang ginagawa ko, nagjo-journal ako. Tapos, dun sa journal ko, every year meron akong bagong journal. Dun sa first page nun, nilalagay ko talaga doon yung mga resolutions ko, may mga goals, may plans. Tapos, pagka pumasok na year, kukunin ko yung dati kong journal. Tapos, titingnan ko kung ano yung mga nagawa ko Tapos kung ano hindi ko pa
Nagawa,
nagawa.
oo.
So yung mga hindi ko nagawa, carry over dun
Carry
sa
over,
bago.
oo.
At alam
So,
mo kung ano laging carry
ano yun?
over ko.
Let me guess. Exercise?
Exercise. So parang lagi ako may goal na daw mas mag-exercise pa ako. Tapos hindi ko nagagawa.
Hindi nagagawa.
So yun, sana ngayon
Sana
this year
ngayon,
magawa. Tapos, since yun na nga, no, mag-50 na ako this year. Ayan, no. Ayan, shinare ko na po ang aking age. I'll be 50. Golden girl na po ako this year.
O diba
sa
guys,
May.
she doesn't look 50.
Thank you. Ayan. Niloko mo lang. Sorry. Pero totoo po yan. Mag-50 na po ako. So I hope lang po that by the time my birthday arrives, it's really safe enough to travel na sana outside the Philippines. Kasi gusto ko sana with my sons and with my parents, makapunta kami sa Israel.
Nice.
So yung magkaroon sana ng pilgrimage, ganun. At actually, naisip ko rin, mag-debut. Debut, kasi golden girl, debut. Kaya lang, iniisip ko pa lang ang preparations, pagod na ako.
Oo.
Kaya alternative ko na lang talaga is to travel na lang sana with my sons. Yun yung gusto ko.
But pwede ka naman mag-travel on your 50th birthday and have a small or kahit modest party na lang
Yun.
for your family and
At
friends.
isa pa, kasi like kong ginagawa yung pre-pandemic, yung outreach program. So
nice.
sana magawa ko ulit
Correct.
ng
Kaya.
usually ang birthday ko, yun yung talagang outreach day ko. So sana this year ganun din.
Yeah.
Now speaking of birthdays, ayan na. Malapit na po ang birthday ng ating dear People's Court partner na si Atty. Al. So advance happy birthday sa'yo. Atty. Al, sana man ang ganap mo sa birthday mo. Paki-share naman.
Kailangan mo may ganap. Well, yes, thanks Judge Jing. Another year older na naman. Hopefully another year wiser.
Yes.
Ayan, and I'm thankful for that. Kaya sa birthday ko, magbabakasyon muna ako out of town. Doon tayo sa
saan?
dagat. Sabi nga ni Vilma Santos sa pelikulang Pahiram na Isang Umaga.
Sino ka partner niya doon?
Si Eric Kison. Syempre.
Talaga?
Oo.
Okay,
Yung eksenang yun sabi
Okay,
niya,
okay.
Ariel, dalin mo ako sa tabing dagat. Ganarn.
So,
ganun ang eksena
diba?
sa birthday. But seriously, magbabakasyon ako sa Boracay sa birthday ko.
Wow.
Pero ironically, working vacation yun. No? May online court hearing ako sa 18,
Okay.
pre-week bar review lecture sa 19, at online court hearing ulit sa 20.
Grabe.
Oo, nabook na kasi ang bakasyon ko nung nag-set ng mga hearings at yung pre-week lecture nga. But ganun talaga. Siyempre tayo ang mag-a-adjust.
At least, di ba, instead of work from home, WFB,
Yes,
work from
from the
Boracay. O di ba, sosyal ang dating. At ang sarap nun, ako rin gusto ko na mag-beach ulit. Last time I was in Boracay, few months before its rehabilitation. Kaya nga nag-rehab yun.
2018.
2018. So yun, ikaw ba Al, before, kasi nga pupunta ka doon, di ba? After na na-rehab si Boracay at itong pandemic, nakabalik ka ba sa Boracay? Kamusta na doon?
Last punta ko doon was October 2017 din, before
Okay.
the rehabilitation. Party-party pa ang Boracay nung last punta ko doon. No? Hello, Lay Boracay.
Oh, wow.
But after the rehabilitation, bawal na ang party by the beach. Kung meron man, sa loob na lang ng mga restos, bars, and hotels. Pero mas nagbago pa ngayon dahil sa pandemic. I saw from vlogs na tahimik at konti ang mga turista. I will have to see. At any rate, I will visit the place for the white sand beach, the fruit shakes, the shopping, and of course, to celebrate one more year, okay, in this blessing of a life that, of course, the Almighty
Al,
gave me.
Yun nga. O, so balitaan mo ko, Al,
Yes,
feedbackan
definitely.
mo ko about
Definitely.
Boracay kasi gustong-gusto ko na talaga makabalik din sa Boracay soon. So, with God's grace and blessing, sana makabalik talaga ako. Ngayon, kayo po mga kahuntahans, kasi napag-usapan na po, nag-disclose kami ni Al, ni Atty. Al, ng aming mga resolutions, plans, and goals this year. Kayo naman po, what are your resolutions, plans, and goals this year? We'll be happy to hear from you about those. Mag-post lang po kayo ng comment in our Facebook page, YouTube channel, sa TikTok din po, at saka sa Twitter.
And of course, if you have any questions about our past episodes and the topics that we discussed, or feedback and recommendations or suggestions for legal topics that you want to be featured in our show, again, please let us know through our FB page, YouTube channel, TikTok, and Twitter.
Yes, our dear kahuntahans, we would love to hear from you dahil ang People's Court po ay ginawa para sa inyo para magbigay ng basic legal information sa simpleng pamamaraan. Nang sa ganon, mas maging empowered tayo, lalo na pag may kinakaharap tayo na legal concerns. But then again po, reminder po namin, pag may usaping legal, pinakamabuti po ay kumonsulta agad sa isang abogadong may sapat na kakayahan at expertise sa legal concerns nyo.
Tama po, Judge Jing. While People's Court aims to educate our dear kauntahans about the legal aspects, hindi po substitute ang legal information na makukuha nyo sa show na ito sa isang tunay at aktwal na pagkonsulta sa isang abogado pag kailangan nyo na. Pero dito sa People's Court, at least ay magagabayan namin kayo kahit papano on the legal essentials and basics.
Kaya na lang nung last episode natin for 2021, Atty. Al, yung tungkol sa seafarers' rights and duties, na ang guest nga natin ay si Atty. Dennis Gorecho. Ang dami nating napag-usapan, no? At sana po ay nakatulong ito sa ating mga kahuntahang marino at kanilang mga pamilya. Alam po naman namin na marami ang nabitin sa inyo sa topic na iyon, kaya po makakaasa kayo sa part 2 nun at isa pa pong episode para naman sa ating mga land-based na OFWs.
Dahil di ba nga, Judge Jing, ang mga OFWs are hailed as the modern-day heroes. Kaya bilang pagkilala sa kanilang hard work and sacrifice for their families and for our country, it's only fitting that we also equip them by making them aware of their legal rights and duties.
Tumpak, Atty. Al. Or sabi nga sa linggo ngayon, pak na pak. Going back to our last episode, ano mga takeaways mo from that, Atty. Al? Or additional reminders perhaps about the topic on seafarers' rights and duties?
Siyempre, bilang may kapatid akong seafarer, ang mahalagang natutunan ko sa nakarang episode ay yung mga employment issues na may standard contract ang mga seafarers. At yung mga proposed contracts ng mga principals for Filipino seafarers, they must be approved by the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration o POEA.
Correct.
Bilang abogado, alam natin yan. Lagi din natin sinasabi na the contract is the law between the parties. Kaya dapat legal ito at nakapaloob dito lahat ng mga importanteng provision, condition at benefits.
Tama.
What about you, Judge Jing?
Well, yun sa akin naman, more of additional reminders. Yung mga hindi natin masyadong na-discuss nung nakaraan kasi nga kinulang na tayo sa oras. So siguro mas maganda na ipakita na muna natin ang highlights from our last episode before I go to the additional reminders.
Yes.
So take it away.
Roll VTR.
Roll VTR. Linawin lang natin para sa kaalaman ng ating mga kahuntahans kung sino nga ba ang maituturing ng mga seafarers.
Yes, Judge. No? Like marami tayong mga kababayan na nagtatrabaho sa mga cruise ships bilang waiters, waitresses, singers, etc. Sila ba ay matuturing din natin na seafarers?
Oo, Atty. Al. Ang mga kababayan natin na nagtatrabaho on board luxury vessels in any capacity are also considered as seafarers.
Also, Judge, since nabanggit kanina na Pilipinas ang largest supplier ng seafarers sa mundo, it is also important to highlight na kahit hawak natin ang corona, ika nga for quite a long time, the Philippines face threats from other nationalities as competitors for the crown.
Saan ba nagmumulat? Ano ba ang sources nitong mga tinatawag nating mga karapatan at obligasyon ng ating mga Pinoy marine or mga seafarers?
Actually, mga seafarers kasi natin, kahit naman sino, meron tayong mga pinaguhugutan ng ating mga rights and obligations. Hindi naman yan basta-basta kasi lumilitaw lang eh. So, kapag isang seafarer ay lumabas ng Philippines, binipit-pit din niya yung mga bodies of laws na concerned do sa kanyang profession. Nandyan yung POA contract.
Okay.
Tapos nandyan yung labor code, nandyan yung constitution, nandyan yung civil code. Tapos nandyan yung mga rules and regulations pertaining to their profession. Tapos, meron din tayo tatawag ng international conventions and recommendations. Ang pinaka, meron tayong tatawag kasi yan yung 4 pillars of maritime law eh. Yung SOLAS, yung safety of life and at sea. Tapos nandyan din yung MARPOL, yung Maritime Pollution Convention. Tapos nandyan yung STCW and yung isa, yung Maritime Labor Convention, kung saan ito yung tinatawag na na
MLC.
Magna Carta of Seafarers.
Yun,
Hindi ka pwedeng lumabas ng Philippines unless your contract is approved by the POA. At sino bang parties dyan? Unang-una, syempre, yung seafarer as the employee, as the labor, ganyan. On the other side, nandiyan yung kanyang principal. Yung principal, ito yung ship owner, or yung pero nasa gitna naman, ito yung matatawag nating manning agency.
Maganda talaga ang naging discussion natin with Attorney Dennis Gorecho last time, Judge Jing. Pero yun na nga, due to lack of material time, we had to adjourn. Kaya mga kauntahans nating mga marino, watch out for part 2.
Correct.
Okay? In the meantime, gaya ng nabanggit ni Judge Jing kanina, may mga pahabol or pabaon daw siya para sa inyo.
Yes.
Judge Jing, ano ang mga additional reminders mo para sa kanila?
Actually, marami sana. But since we'll be having a follow-up episode on this anyway, at yun na nga, lack of time na tayo, I limit myself to 3 pabaons na muna. First, isa ring batas sa sumasakop sa ating mga seafarers at iba pang OFWs, ang Migrant Workers Act. Second, meron din pong nilabas ang POEA na separate rules and regulations for seafarers and land-based employees. Detalyado po ang mga rules na yon at malaking tulong sa ating mga marino at iba pang OFWs. Third, lalo na po sa mga bagong nag-a-aspire na maging marino at even po sa mga OFWs, mag-ingat po sa mga illegal recruiters.
Oh, yes.
Unfortunately po, prevalent pa rin po yan until now. Pero madali na pong maiwasan yan by ensuring na kayo po ay dumiretso mismo sa manning agency. Huwag na pong dumaan sa mga middleman, yung mga
Fixers.
pumapagitna pa, fixers, mga ganon. At siguraduhin nyo pong valid ang license nila by checking the status at the POEA website po. Mag-double check po para kayo ay makaiwas sa peligro at maging ligtas.
Yan. Thank you, Judge Jing, for the reminders or the pahabols para sa ating mga marino at sa kanilang pamilya. Alamin ang inyong karapatan, pati na rin ang inyong mga tungkulin para maging maayos ang inyong pagiging buhay marino. Ngayon naman, Judge, I think we have a very quick time for shout-out.
Yes, very quick na lang.
Okay.
Yes, may time pa, pero mauna ka na, Atty. Al, kasi birthday month mo.
Naku, sana lagi na lang birthday ko para lagi ako nauna.
Okay.
Okay, hi and hello sa lahat ng mga kamag-anak at kaibigan ko. Napakadami nyo, no? Every time one celebrates his or her birthday, it's that time in your life, no, that moment in your life that you look back and thank everyone who has been a part of your life and you hope na maging part pa rin sila, no, in the years to come. So,
Yes.
general na lang yung aking
Thanks.
aking thanks at saka greetings po sa
Okay.
inyong lahat. Ayan. So, yun lang.
Okay. Ayun muna.
Ayun muna.
Okay, so next time ulit.
Okay.
Ako naman po, kasi very quick lang po, batiin ko na lang po, kasi birthday po ng aking dear sister-in-law, si Atty. Charm Nolasco on January 8. And hopefully po makuha, Charm, sana makuha mong birthday wish mo, sana lumabas ng appointment mo bilang
Yes.
RTC judge, knock on wood.
Ako, family of judges pala to.
Sana makuha niya. And pahabol din pong birthday greeting para po sa kapatid ng aming gwapong-gwapo. Ayan na, Nax, Butch, ayan na, more ano yan. Executive producer Butch Serrano, si Romel Serrano po, birthday niya sa January 10.
Ayan.
So, and of course, lagi naman po sa aking mga anak, my dear sons and my parents, and to the family po, magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. So, yun lang muna tayo kasi kulang na tayo sa oras. And para po sa ating next segment, ang Legally Speaking, doon po ay magkakaroon tayo ng patikim tungkol po sa patikim na discussion tungkol sa topic natin ngayon, which is about the Office of the Court Administrator or OCA ng Supreme Court. Yan ay sa pagbabalik ng People's Court.
The information provided in this show does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice. Instead, all information and content in this show are for general informational purposes only. No viewer should act or refrain from acting on the basis of information provided in this show without first seeking legal advice from a proper counsel. No attorney-client relationship is created or intended to be created with the audience of the show.
Welcome back to People's Court. Ako po uli ang inyong Kuya Atty. Al, and with me is your Ate Judge Jing. For our second segment, Legally Speaking, magbibigay tayo ng general overview tungkol sa ating topic for this episode, which is about the Office of the Court Administrator o simple OCA. Of course, the specifics and further discussion will be in our third segment, Amicus Curiae.
Naku, Atty. Al, I'm really excited to be with our special guest for our third segment, yun yung Amicus Curiae. And very happy ako talaga na finally, He's here with us today kasi super busy siya talaga with his duties at the Supreme Court. And it's really an honor and a privilege that despite his hectic schedule, he found time to be with us today. But more on our special guest in our third segment. Bibitinin muna namin kayo tungkol sa kanya, our dear kahuntahans.
Wow, mahilig talaga kayo sa suspense.
Oo,
Judge.
para Netflix lang, di
Yes.
ba?
Okay. Okay, baka suspense sa isip ko.
Ganon. Okay.
Also, since our topic is about the Office of the Court Administrator or the OCA for sure, I'm quite sure that our kauntahans who are lawyers or law students may already have a hint as to who our special guest is. But for those of you who are not yet familiar with the OCA, hayaan nyo pong magbigay kami ni Judge Jing ng konting overview about it. Judge Jing, ano nga ba ang OCA at ano ang ganap sa OCA?
Actually, Attorney Al, before we go sa ano ang ganap sa OCA, anuin ko lang, sigundahan ko lang yung sinabi mo na sabi mo nga, yung mga kahuntahans natin na mga lawyers at saka law students might probably already have a hint as to who our special guest is. Pero dun po sa ating mga televiewers and kahuntahans na hindi naman po lawyers or law students, baka nga po wala pa silang hint kung sino ang ating special guest and how important he is at kung ano ba itong Office of the Court Administrator or OCA. Baka akala pa nga nila pag sinabing OCA, tao. Kasi di ba yung OCA is the usual nickname for Oscar. Pero to clarify lang po, our dear kahuntahans, ang OCA po na pag-uusapan natin ngayon ay hindi po si Mang OCA sa kanto o yung iba pa pong OCA na kakilala nyo. Hindi po ito isang tao lamang, kung hindi isang opisina po sa Korte Suprema, ang Office of the Court Administrator or OCA na nga po in short. Simply put, ang OCA po is an office in the Supreme Court that oversees, ewan ko lang po kung tama pa itong number na to, pero ito yung estimate, more than 2,600 judges and 25,000 court personnel.
Dami.
Pero siguro i-confirm natin sa ating guest kung tama pa ba yung aking nakuhang numbers. So anything po na concern sa isang hukom or court personnel, sa OCA po yan dapat ipaalam muna. Although, in 2018, the Judicial Integrity Board and the Corruption Prevention and Investigation Office, medyo mahaba ang pangalan niya. Ang tawag nila sa kanya, JIB for short, was created naman to receive grievances and complaints against justices of the Court of Appeals, Sandigang Bayan, Court of Tax Appeals, and even judges and personnel of lower courts. At eto pa, pati na rin po against officials and employees of the Office of the Jurisconsult, na siguro pwede rin natin itanong mamaya sa guest natin, ano ba yun? Tapos yung office din ng Court Administrator, Deputy Court Administrator or the DCA, Assistant Court Administrator or ACA, and their personnel. So, better nga if we allow our special guest to clarify about that further, Attorney Al. Kasi before the Judicial Integrity Board, or yun nga JIB, the OCA has the power to receive such grievances and complaints. So, yun, clarify natin sa kanya.
So, parang nga pala siya ombudsman din, ano?
O, parang ganun, di ba?
So, we'll learn kung ano pagkaiba ng OCA, JIB, at saka ombudsman. Oo nga, Judge Jing, no? Kasi, alibawa, no, ako bilang abogado, may mga na-encounter ako na isang korte na nagsabi halimbawa na no appearance daw para sa isang nullity of marriage case.
Oh, no
At gusto kong
appearance.
isumbong sa Supreme Court. Pwede pa ba ako sa OCA sumulat o dapat sa JIB na? Or paano halimbawa, if gusto na isang litigant na dumiretso sa Supreme Court, pwede kaya yun?
Yun nga, Attorney Al, mahirap magsapantaha. O ano yung sapantaha? Mag-speculate tungkol sa mga ganyang bagay. Lalo na nga with the creation of the JIB. Kasi nga baka mamaya meron ng functions sa OCA na punta sa JIB. So, mas mainam talaga na sa ating special guest tayo magtanong later. But for now, ang pwede nating banggitin ng konti is tungkol sa organizational structure ng OCA and when it was created.
Yes, Judge. As per reliable Google search, I discovered that the OCA pala was created by the President in 1975. So matanda pa pala sa akin ang OCA.
Nang ilang taon?
4
4 years. Ayun na po, alam niyo na kung ilang taon na po si Attorney Al. Konting math lang po. At ako naman ay 3 years old pa lang when the OCA was created because martial law baby ako eh.
Okay.
So now when we speak of the OCA as an organization, the head is of course the court administrator. Siya yun, yung court ad. Trivia lang po, ilang court ads na rin po natin or court administrators ang na-appoint as Supreme Court Associate Justice nung sila ay court ad pa. So, court ad, tapos bigla silang na-appoint as Supreme Court Associate Justice. To name a few in recent years, hindi po ito exclusive list, parang examples lang po ng mga na-appoint. No less than our dear Dean in the CEU School of Law and Jurisprudence, Senior Associate Justice Josue N. Bellosilio. Hi po, Justice. I hope that you're watching. Then, of course,
baka may bakante dyan sa CEU.
Pwede, invite ka namin. Then, Justice Presby Velasco also. Also, Justice Jose Pepe Perez. Napakabait po nun si Justice Pepe Perez. And most recently po, si Justice Maidas Marquez, na actually po nasa youngest. I think dalawa silang 55 years old eh.
In history of the Supreme Court?
Hindi naman. Ngayon, dun sa mga incumbents, sila yung youngest ngayon.
Nice. Wow naman, ang galing. Then, i-add ko na din, Judge Jing, na after the court ad is the position of the Deputy Court Administrator o yung DCA. At present, there are 3 DCAs. Isa for Luzon, isa for Visayas, at isa for Mindanao. Yung DCA nga for Visayas is Honorable Jenny Lynn Aldecoa de Lorino. Nakilala ko, although I'm sure she doesn't remember me, kasi taga Dumaguete City at sa Silliman University din siya nag-graduate kung saan ako graduate ng law. Ayan. By the way, since the position of court administration is currently vacant, the Senior Deputy Court Administrator, Raul Bautista Villanueva, is the current acting court administrator.
Tama, Attorney Al. At bukod pa sa mga Deputy Court Administrators, meron din tayong Assistant Court Administrators or ACAs or ACA. We call them ACA. No? Dalawa po sila. Plus, meron ding iba pang offices na under din sa OCA or sa Office of the Court Administrator. Katulad na lang ng Fiscal Management Office. Nandyan din ang Office of Halls of Justice. Nandyan din yung Legal Office. Tapos yung Office of Administrative Services and Court Management Office. And actually, kahit po yung Office of the Executive Judge na dun sa mga different courts,
mga regions.
Ano rin yan, sa OCA din sila nagre-report, pati na rin ang ating mga mediators sa kanila na under na rin yan sa OCA. But again, the best person to discuss about these offices, kasi ba mamaya merong hindi accurate sa mga sinabi natin, para yun ma-discuss pa ng mas maayos sa ating Dear Kahuntahans, antayin po natin ang ating special guest. Mahirap na kasi magkamali, baka mayari tayo sa Supreme Court. Ay, wag naman po.
Takot lang namin sa Supreme Court.
Oo nga.
Naku, oo nga, Judge. And we don't want that to happen. Kasi nga, as lawyers, we are all officers of the court.
Right, Attorney Al. Pero alam mo, looking forward talaga ako sa ating third segment kasi gusto kong marinig ang special guest natin when he discusses about the JIB and the various offices under the OCA at pati na rin yung mga concerns nga, yung mga issues.
Correct.
Dahil it's about time that the people, our dear Kahuntahans, become more aware and familiar with the OCA, di ba?
Yes, Judge, I agree. Especially na nga sa effect ng creation ng JIB sa powers, duties, and responsibilities ng OCA over lower court judges and personnel. Curious ako malaman, di ba nagkakaroon ng overlap between the JIB and the OCA?
And actually, Al, pati nga within the OCA, hindi ba nagkakaroon ng overlap din? Like for example, sa functions ng DCA or ACA, kasi may Deputy Court Administrator, tapos may Assistant Court Administrator pa. So, hindi ba yun nagkakaroon ng overlapping? Or even in the different offices sila, yung mga in-enumerate natin kanina. And most importantly, for our kahuntahans who are not part of the judiciary, sino nga ba sa OCA ang dapat lapitan or sulatan pag may concern sa isang court personnel or for example, sa Hall of Justice? For sure, may mga concerns sa mga kahuntahan natin na nagkakaso na at nakapunta na sa mga courts para umattend ng kaso.
Yes, Judge. No? From my experience as a trial lawyer, may mga na-experience, mga karanasan tayo no, outside of the case itself, no? But they affect how we practice the profession, whether for the better or for the worse. Halimbawa, yung physical condition ng courts. Of course, may mga courts na luma na mga building at mga courtrooms. Pero meron din namang iba na bago ang building at modern na rin ang facilities.
Yes.
But yung ang tanong, bakit gano'n iba-iba ang courts? And I hear this very often, no, na yun nga, they say that courts are old at saka hindi nga daw conducive for hearing, ganyan. Tapos din, from a personal experience din, although hindi ako nagreklamo, ganun talaga, cowboy ka dapat, may mga experience ako na umaattend ako ng hearing tapos sobrang sikip na congested yung mga courts, and I was even asked, or we were made to sit on court folders kasi nga wala nang maupuan. And we know that these court folders are sensitive documents, no? What if nga may mawala or what? But at any rate, syempre, wala naman siguro magdadala ng ng mga folders, magbibit-bit ng folder outside of the court. So, yun. So, ganun yung nag-experience ko, no? And I'm sure meron pa ring experience. Like, you were also in the practice before becoming judge, and ngayon naman, balik ka na ulit sa practice. Anong experience mo pagdating sa courts natin?
Oo. Actually, ang isi-share ko is yung experience ko sa new lawyer. So, before I became a judge. Kasi, nung 1999, parang napaka-memorable ng year na yon sa akin. Kasi 1999, bagong pasa pa lang ako. I was pregnant pa nga with my panganay, no? At that time. Tapos, nag-attend ako ng hearing sa isang lugar. Okay, tapos si branch clerk of court, ang sabi sa akin, agad guardianship kasi. So it was for the office. Sabi ko, usapin daw si branch clerk of court for the guardianship proceedings. Agad, sabi niya sa akin, ang ex parte fee daw nila sa guardianship, 30,000 pesos.
Oh my, laki
Kasama na daw yung kay judge.
Ay.
So ganun, di ba? Parang shocked ka na parang for a new lawyer, ano to, I know that something was wrong, pero kanino akong magrereklamo, di ba?
Correct.
Second instance, like yun nga, usually kasi pinag-a-appear ako sa hearings, actually, yung pag-CCR, tinitiis ko. Kasi hindi lahat ng halls of justice, sorry po sa ating special guest, pero yun po talaga yun, na yung mga halls of justice natin, kung minsan yung CR, hindi talaga
hindi
siya
na maintain. Oo nga.
So, yun yung isa pa. Pangatlo, na may kukwento ko, yun nga, 1999, I was pregnant with my panganay. Kaya yata mabilis ako nag-labor, 2 hours lang. Kasi the day before I gave birth, I had a hearing, 5th floor, RTC. Hindi ko nasasabihin kung saan pong lugar. Sira ang elevator.
Oh, no.
So, kakaisa-isang elevator, sira pa. So, ayun.
Buntis ka pa doon.
Buntis ako noon, no? So, ayun, lakad ako. Mega lakad ako. 5 flights of stairs. Di pag ano ko, the following day, ayun na, nanganak na ako.
So, kumbaga parang Hall of Justice induced yung baby.
Yun, di ba? Kaya nga ang pangalan niya, di ba? Talagang pang-abogado rin.
Ano ba pangalan niya?
Barrister. Di ba? So, pag itong si Barry, ang aking pong panganay, hi Barry, ay hindi nag-abogado, ay...
Change of name agad.
Change of name agad. So, yun lang po, yung mga ganyang klaseng concerns. And when I became a judge, of course, alam na natin na yun nga, sa OCA pupunta. Pero bilang isang abogado, especially for the litigants, maaaring hindi nila alam, may mga gantong klaseng concerns, kanino ba lalapit? Paano ba ito ipapaalam? Sino bang pwedeng pagsumbungan? Di ba?
At meron bang aksyon ang maibibigay sa mga ganyang issues, di ba, or concerns?
So, yun nga, ngayon na lang natin lalaman. Like for example, in my case, when I became a judge, na doon ko nalaman na pagkaganto pala, dapat sa Office of the Court Administrator pala siya nilalapit.
And yun nga, now that nababagit natin yan, ang misconception ko nga dati, pagka ganyang physical changes or physical improvements ng court, expense ng judge yun. Hindi pala. So, meron pala tayo Office of the Court Administrator.
Ayun.
So, ayan.
Naku, kinulang na naman tayo ng ating puntahan, ng mga legally speaking natin, mga kwentuhan natin.
So, anyway, so without further ado, mainam na pumunta na agad tayo kasi alam ko na-excite na kayo, no? Dito sa third segment natin para ma-meet na natin ating special guest judge.
Oo nga. Ako rin, Atty. Al. Kaya mga kahuntahan, yan muna ang ating legally speaking segment for today kasi kulang na naman po tayo sa oras. At para po mas mabigyan naman tayo ng mas magandang discussion about this, mamaya po sa ating third segment sa amicus curiae, no, together with our special guest. Yan po ay sa pagbabalik ng People's Court.
The information provided in the show does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice. Instead, all information and content in the show are for general informational purposes only. No viewer should act or refrain from acting on the basis of information provided in the show without first seeking legal advice from a proper counsel. No attorney-client relationship is created or intended to be created with the audience of the show.
Welcome to our Amicus Curiae segment. Ako po ulit si Judge Jing Nolasco, isang dating hukom. And with me, ayan, is our birthday boy na handsome and talented People's Court partner, Atty. Al. As mentioned earlier po, we are truly honored and thankful that our special guest was able to grace our show despite his hectic schedule. I-share ko lang po, until he arrived on set earlier, at maaga po siya talaga, I was still feeling anxious because I know that he can be called anytime on an urgent matter. Kasi po talagang sa kanya, pagka pinatawag po siya, talagang uunahin niya po. And because, of course, we understand that because his duties and his functions demand that.
Yes.
But I'm really happy and relieved that he's really here with us today.
Oo nga, Judge Jing, no? When you first mentioned that our special guest will be in our show, I was really thrilled, and it's my honor to say a few words about him. Our special guest finished his undergraduate course and Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of the Philippines. Trivia, blackmate po niya si spokesperson Harry Roque.
Tama ba? Blackmate na?
Classmate.
Oh, classmate.
Section
Ayun.
pa.
Oh, section. Blackmate
kasection
niya.
pa. Okay, so blackmate and kasection nyo rin si Dean Ad-Abad.
Of course.
Yes,
Yeah.
diba?
Tama.
Small world.
Yeah.
Before his
Section C.
Before his appointment as Deputy Court Administrator in 2010, he served as the presiding judge of the Regional Trial Court Branch 255 of Las Piñas City.
Actually, Atty. Al, share ko lang. Doon kami sa Las Piñas nagkakilala ng ating special guest. As he became one of my mentors when I was first appointed as the presiding judge of the Metropolitan Trial Court Branch 79 of Las Piñas. And since sa lahat ng judges sa Las Piñas at that time, kami ang pinakamalapit ang age gap, 9 years. Although hindi halata, mukhang mas lesser kasi nga young looking ang ating guest, di ba?
Yes, parehas
Naging
kayo.
para na kaming magkuya. And I'm thankful that even after I left the judiciary, na-maintain namin ang friendship namin kahit nabihira na kaming magkakwentuhan at magkita. Although, yun na nga, kanina we were talking, dapat mag-ano tayo ulit, mag-get together. Marami pa siyang actually accomplishments. When he got appointed as a DCA, siya yung executive judge namin sa Las Piñas. And he was also an acting presiding judge at that time. Dalawa pa, sa Taguig at sa Manila.
Wow.
When he got appointed. Ganun siya kasipag
Okay.
talaga, no? But above all those accomplishments, ang dami pa. Ano rin to, sa golf. Ano nga yung tawag doon? Hole-in-one. Nag-hole-in-one. Ganun siya kagaling.
Galing, oh. Ang ganda ng swing.
Oo, galing.
swing
Ang dami niyang trophies.
Yes.
Ang pinakagusto ko talaga ito, may pagmamalaki ko,
Yes.
sa mga accomplishments niya, is being a devoted husband to his beautiful wife, Zen,
Nice.
and a wonderful dad to their 3 children.
Nice.
Ang isa doon ay abogada na, si Attorney Arian. Ayan ako. Tapos si Ariel, yung artist, at yung bunso, si Ryan, kakagraduate lang.
nakaka-proud.
So very proud siya talaga sa family niya. And banggitin ko na rin po, our special guest is super dedicated to his work. That even during the pandemic, when his staff were on rotation basis sa work sched, he reported to the office every day.
Wow.
Bakit ko alam niyo? Kasi sabi ni na staff niya. Plus, eto pa, he's truly generous and mabait. I
gusto
can
ko yan,
attest to that.
generosity.
Yun. So,
Wala, di ba?
oo, ma'am,
Kakapasko lang. Oh, year.
very ano siya talaga.
Correct. Indeed,
Ay,
no?
nako.
Super admirable talaga ating special guest, Judge Jing. So without further ado, our dear countahans, we welcome to the show the Honorable Acting Court Administrator, Raul Bautista Villanueva. Welcome po, Justice Raul.
Ay, maraming salamat. Magandang araw sa inyong dalawa. Attorney Al, of course, Judge Jing. Medyo ang dami niyong nasabi na parang hindi ko na nakilala kung sino yun.
Tama,
Ako pala yung
hindi ko-
pinag-uusapan ninyo.
Hindi ko na hininga yung resume. Tama naman, di ba? Accurate naman yung mga
Yes,
sinabi
yes.
ko.
That is true, no? Before joining the office of the court administrator, I was a judge, no, for more than 7 years. So medyo matagal na rin ako sa judiciary. 19 years already. So
Wow.
and of course, this is already my career, no? In so far as my work is concerned. And,
Yes.
I'm happy na for today, you're talking about, and you would like to discuss, the Office of the Court Administrator, which I've been a part of for more than 11 years.
Yes,
already.
11 years. Si Justice Raul got appointed in 2010 as a DCA, di ba?
Yes.
Tama, DCA. Tapos ngayon, acting court ad, and ito na, kiklaim na talaga, court ad na po ito. Now, again, thank you very much, Justice, for being here. And just to clarify po sa ating mga kahuntahans why we address him as Justice, kasi po ang court administrator has the rank of Associate Justice of the Supreme Court.
No,
Tama
the
ba?
Presiding
Justice pala of the
my
Court of
work
Appeals.
now has the rank of Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals by law.
Yung DCA.
Pursuant to, pursuant to Presidential Decree number 828.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's by
Yun.
law.
Pero if you get formally appointed
As
as
the court administrator,
presiding justice
So,
naman
Presiding
Court of
Justice
Appeal.
na ang rank nun, which is equivalent to
To
an Associate Justice
of the
Supreme
Supreme Court.
Court.
Yun.
In terms of rank.
Okay.
Yes, in terms of
Ah,
rank.
But definitely,
Okay, ano din, oo.
just to be clear, boss lahat yun. They are all my bosses, no? From the Chief Justice down to the youngest member of the Supreme Court, who happens to be right now former court administrator, Samahan.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
as far as the lower court judges, even the justices of the appellate courts,
Yeah.
at saka yung mga court employees na number over 20,000, kayo po ang boss. Or tika nga, kung merong 15 justices sa Supreme Court, may pang 16 doon at kayo yun.
Nako. That's far from the reality, ha? Kami ang utusan, no? Kami ang utusan ng ating mga UWES, no? Mga trial court
okay.
judges natin and court personnel, in the sense that, of course, everything that they need in order to function, no? Appropriately, and with respect to their operations, that's something that we need to attend to and address, no? In the Office of the Court Administrator.
Oh, okay.
Pero yun nga, justice ang proper din na i-address kasi nga yung sa rank, diba? Justice naman. And justice, kaya imbes na DCA or court ad, justice.
Tawagin mo na lang akong Raul.
Hindi
No,
ako
because,
sanay. Hindi tawag sa kanya kuya. Actually, kuya
tawagin
ang
na lang
tawag
akong kuya na, no? But, you know, not so much about the rank. It's more of the work
Yeah.
that goes with the title.
Yeah.
So that's why I keep on saying it's okay. You can just call me. Well, I'm a former judge like you, so the title remains, no, as a judge. No? Pero Raul na lang. Kaya ako nandito, di ba? Because if not for the fact that we've been together for quite a number of years.
2006. Kuya.
Baka hindi na naman kami magkikita niya, no, the attorney.
Ade, makikita ko na kayo sa mga decisions ng Supreme Court.
Ayun na
As
nga,
ponente.
Kaya,
That's a different story.
That's another story. But yeah, pray for that. Well,
claim natin.
Justice, nabanggit nyo kayo na utusan kayo ng mga lower courts.
That's how I view it.
Yeah.
No?
But how was it dealing with the pandemic? No, how challenging was it to adapt to the pandemic, just so the courts can continue operating?
Well, you can say we had a slow start because everybody was caught by surprise. And we were all unprepared in so far as the impact, no, of COVID-19. No? Especially when it started, no, in March, there was a hard lockdown. But eventually we were able to adapt. And one of the things that we did during the pandemic, lalo na yung hard lockdown, and of course, our Chief Justice then, no, was Chief Justice Diosdado Peralta. He was really able to lead the court, no, during those times. And of course, we started with the video conferencing. Dati wala.
Yes.
We were piloting it, the video conferencing or telehearing setup in Davao.
Okay.
So 1:1 lang ang setup noon. Courts, merong mga IT equipments, tapos yung ating BJMP, no, meron din. So kumbaga sa two-way traffic lang, wala nang iba. But because of technology, ibang klase rin, when Zoom was there, and then now we're using the Microsoft 365 application, no? Wala na, kumbaga sa it was eventually rolled out nationwide.
Yes.
So that's one. And then second, and of course, this culminated, by the way, itong video conferencing culminated with the adoption by the Supreme Court of the guidelines for the conduct of video conferencing.
Yes.
So, ang bilis, di ba? Bilis. Which was adopted in December of 2020. Anyway, and then quickly lang, Siyempre, we were concerned about the persons deprived of liberty. So kailangan namin na we have to address those individuals, especially who are entitled to bail.
Correct.
So inallow namin yung the filing of bails, no?
Yes.
Electronically.
Yeah.
So kasi bawal lang contact.
Correct.
So yan, and of course the submission of the informations kasi kailangan din yun para makapag-post ng bail.
Correct.
Yes.
Electronically yan, through emails, no? And of course we provided the public of the list of our hotline numbers. So
Saka
and then the email
emails,
addresses,
yes.
no?
Yes.
So
Oo,
these
kumpleto.
things actually we adopted, no? And then of course one thing also that the court adopted was this formula to reduce the amount of bail recommended.
Oh.
Alam mo, ang mga judges natin, they are empowered to
Reduce.
the bail, and you
Yes.
cannot appeal any decision reducing
Single
it or
bail.
increasing it.
Correct.
So and nagkaroon ng formula doon. Dati walang formula, parang parang bahala na lang, discretion ng judge. But at least now it's still part of their discretion to determine how low.
Okay.
But at least there is a formula right now, and there is a circular that was issued also in May or June of 2020 providing that formula.
Wow, okay. So, ang dami talaga nagawa ng Supreme Court
Are
about
these
it.
reforms here to stay even
Yes,
after the
many.
pandemic?
That's a good question, Attorney Al, kasi honestly, one thing that will stay, as far as we are concerned, is this matter about video conferencing.
Yes,
We will just
oo.
continue enhancing it, but it's an alternative mode, in the
Yes.
conduct of court proceedings, and that is something that has bridged the gap, especially for those who may be located in far-flung places. Meron pa rin tayong tinatawag na remote appearance abroad.
Yeah.
Wherein
Yes.
of course ang guidelines natin require lang that they appear
Yes.
Embassy.
before our consulate or embassy. The reason is kasi nga jurisdiction, jurisdictional. Ang tawag natin doon kasi 'di ba ang ating mga embassies and consulates are part of Philippine territory.
Yes.
So parang silang nagte-testify din in the Philippines except that they are abroad. And this is something that is helpful para sa mga OFWs natin.
Para hindi na umuwi sa Pilipinas just to appear
Basta
in court.
ma-approve ng court,
Yes.
i-allow ang video conferencing, and of course they made the proper arrangements with our Philippine consulate or embassy where they are located, then they can appear without coming back. No?
Pero Justice, yun ba yung appearance allowing yun nga sa OFWs and
Tawagin mo na lang
our...
akong Raul, ano ka ba?
Oh, hindi, nasa
It's
show
okay.
tayo.
Okay.
Kailangan may proper respect.
Okay lang. Pero,
Ano yan,
yeah.
yun nga, yung sa OFWs, yung allowing sa video conference
Yeah.
hearings for that,
Yeah.
di ba na-suspend siya for a time? So,
Yes,
okay na
yes.
ba siya?
Okay na.
Well,
Like yung
it
coordination
was-
with the DFA?
I'm sorry, medyo kuminsan na sa gana ko na sumagot ka agad. Kuminsan hindi pa natatapos yung tanong.
Okay lang,
My
okay lang.
apologies for
It's
that.
alright.
Kasi ganun ako Alam mo, ang mga gaya ko na Ilocano, by the way, para kadigitipada kay Ilocano na yung bag na
Yan, very
daw yung
good.
aming pada-pada po. Anyway, alam mo naman, kailangan maagap ka, But at any rate, to answer your question, insofar as that is concerned, naayos na.
I see.
Naayos na in the
Okay.
sense na inalaw na namin yan kasi wala kaming rules na mahanap or at least manggaling pa sa DFA in the meantime. So, we just followed the guidelines.
So okay na siya ulit.
Okay na siya kasi nag-end na yung moratorium June 30.
I see.
yes.
So, follow-up ko na lang, Justice.
Yeah,
kasi
sure.
sa discussion natin, or medyo iba lang ako ng konti. Yung sa kaninang discussion namin sa Legally Speaking,
Yeah,
we were talking about the concerns nga and overview of the yun nga, sa OCA, and then we talked about the JIB.
Yes, okay,
Kasi
yeah.
nga, nung nakita namin yon na 2018 pala, nagkaroon na ng JIB,
Yeah.
tapos nabasa namin yung functions ng JIB, para naisip namin, hindi ba nagkakaroon ng overlapping doon? Paano na ngayon ang setup at powers and functions of the OCA with respect to the JIB, yung mga ganon?
So let's start with, of course, kung ano yung nasa saligang batas. The Supreme Court has the power, of course, of administrative supervision over the courts and the personnel. So to assist them, to assist the Supreme Court and the justices, of course, and the Chief Justice, PD 828 was, adopted by and issued by then former President Ferdinand Marcos to assist the Supreme Court in the administrative supervision of our courts. Kaya doon po pasok ang OCA. Now, the OCA, actually, when you talk about administrative supervision, we handle not only matters that involve their operations,
Yes.
what they need, but also with respect to the admin cases,
Yes.
complaints. So that was before. When now that you mentioned that the JIB was created in 2018, but was functional only last year.
I
Became
see.
functional only last year.
Okay.
So yung part of our administrative supervision is regarding complaints against judges and even court personnel. Nailipat na ito sa JIB.
I
So in
see.
other words, in so far as administrative supervision is concerned, parang dalawa na kami.
Okay.
Pero kumbaga sa karamihan pa rin sa amin sa Office of the Court Administrator, you might say about 80% to 90% is still with respect to administrative supervision. Ang natanggal sa amin yung complaints,
complaints.
yung mga reklamo laban sa mga judges natin. Take note,
investigate.
reklamo talaga.
Okay.
Kung minsan kasi meron lang yung nagtatanong, humihingi ng assistance, no? Na bakit mabagal itong aking judge, baka naman ho pwedeng pabilisin.
Yes.
No? If it's not if it has not ripened into a complaint, then that is something that we can of course look into.
Okay.
No? Pero pag nagreklamo ka na, no, at gusto mo na hindi parusahan niyo yan kasi mabagal talaga yan o kaya hindi maganda ang ginagawa niyan, then that is something. Even if you file it before the Office of the Court Administrator, we will just refer it to the Judicial Integrity Board. Kasi complaint na siya, reklamo na siya.
Correct.
So, yan,
meron
maliwanag
talagang
na siya.
adjudication.
Yes, that's
Nangyari.
it. That's it.
Pero
Okay.
yung sa mga naman, Justice, yung sa, bawa, may concerns yung mga napag-usapan namin kanina sa mga CR, yung mga ganun sa Halls of Justice.
Yeah.
Kanina,
Congestion.
yun ay
Sagot
sa-
namin yun.
okay.
Sagot namin yun. Basta para sa kanilang operation, kami ang sumasagot doon. So, they come to us. We have five major offices in the Office of the Court Administrator. One is the legal office. Of course, primarily before dapat it
Yung
addresses
sa-
yung mga complaints.
complaints.
Pero marami pa rin ginagawa yan, no? Change of venue,
Okay.
no? Paminsan yung mga legal issues, no? So sila mag-handle nun.
Okay.
And then we have the court management office. Ito naman yung mga designations sa mga judges natin from one station to
Yes.
another.
Okay.
And then principally, no, para lang may idea kayo.
Yes.
And then we have of course, the administrative office, services office. Ito yung mga salaries, benefits,
Okay.
retirement. Yan naman ang hinahandle namin. And then pagdating naman sa Financial Management Office, that's the fourth, no? Ito na yung magre-release ng pera. Ito na magsasabi kung may pondo, lalo na pagka mga sa retirement, salaries, and then of course the benefits. No? And
Okay.
finally, yung tinatawag namin na Office on Halls of Justice.
Yes.
Ito na yung
Yung nakikita ng mga tao talaga.
lahat ng mga nakikita nyo sa Halls of Justice natin, kung medyo may konting sira, no, medyo may kailangang ayusin, dyan po dumadaan sa amin yan. Sa Office of Halls of Justice.
Ngayong video conferencing,
Yes.
mostly, no, mga cases, although, we can only hope for the best, no, which is bumalik din tayo dun sa
Yeah.
in-court
Yes,
hearings.
yes.
After, or were you able to take advantage of the time, no, na nag-video conferencing to improve the the halls of justice and the physical courts?
Well, we're doing as much as we could. Kasi siyempre, when you talk about actual repairs, di ba? Actual rehabilitation, may covered din ng mga protocols. Yung mga
correct.
workers na,
Yes, hindi
minsan,
rin
because we usually do everything through bidding. So, meron mananalo na magre-repair. For example, contractor, siyempre magko-comply din siya doon sa mga protocols. So, sometimes, while we continue bidding out projects to repair, rehabilitate, or even construct new halls of justice, siyempre, dumadaan yan through bidding.
Okay.
Speaking of Hall of Justice, hindi ko pa napapasukan yung bagong Hall of Justice na Quezon City. Kasi
yes.
nga, nung
Maganda.
inopen siya, magkakahiring na sana ako doon, biglang nag-lockdown.
Ganun.
So, puro kami video conference. Kaya excited na ako pumasok dyan sa pinagmamalaki Hall of Justice sa Quezon City.
Pero, sorry, Justice one last question na lang kasi sinenyasan na tayo 1 minute to go. Last na lang,
Yes.
yung distinction lang, very brief about the DCA, the Deputy Court Administrator, at saka yung Assistant Court Administrators. Kasi yun yung DCA at saka
Overlap
ACAO.
ba, no?
Meron bang, paano na yung nila?
Well,
Functions?
unang-una, very clear naman yung mga functions namin. But in terms of the creation of the offices, ang Deputy Court Administrator, which is my position, is created by law yan. So in other words, and the rank is given by law.
Okay.
No? yung assistant court administrators, may resolution of the court.
I see.
So,
Okay.
nadagdag yan, which we really need them naman kasi in the first place,
Yes,
to help the court administrator before. Yung mga, and then, yung mga areas kung saan sila assigned, kami very clear. Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, yung tatlong deputy court administrators and the one in charge of the Luzon. And then, yung assistant court administrators sa
Will be
National
under you.
Capital Judicial Region.
So doon
Hinati
sila.
namin yan.
Okay.
Pero on top of them, parang
Of
gano'n,
course,
is the court
administrator. Ayun, at least malinaw
Malinaw
na
na, correct.
yung sa ano na yon part na yan. Kaya lang,
Oh,
nako
no.
naman.
Kulang na naman tayo sa oras,
Yun
Judge
nga.
Jing, no? Time really flies when you're having fun.
Parang yung sa kanta yan ni Gloria Estefana.
Ito na.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yes.
I heard somebody say. Anong kanta yon?
Hindi pa ako pinapanganak ata.
Hoy, sobra ka. Grabe ka. Matanda lang ako sa ilang taon.
Hindi ba more ano kami Filipino singers.
Assignment mo
kami na-
yan next,
Sige, sige.
for our next episode. Pero Justice Raul, maraming salamat talaga sa kinulang lang tayo sa oras, but thank you for being here, and I hope na pag inimbitahan kita ulit. Kasi mukhang kailangan natin to be continued pa, may follow-up episode tayo. And of course, good luck sa'yo sa pagiging court administrator. And yung sa iba pang plano, ayoko nang banggitin kasi baka maudlot. But of course, you know that we are praying for you. And of course, Happy New Year. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you po, Justice Raul. No? Sana po ay ma-invite ka namin ulit. At sa ating mga kahuntahan, maraming salamat po uli sa inyo sa patuloy na pagtangkilik sa aming show. Makakaasa po kayo that we will strive to make the show better and more relevant to you, our dear kauntahans, this 2022. Ako po muli ang inyong kauntahan, Atty. Al Jumrani. See you next week.
At ako naman po, si former Judge Jing Nolasco. Salamat po sa inyo mga kahuntahan sa panonood. At may reruns po tayo sa GNN, YouTube at Facebook. At sana po ay patuloy niyo pong subaybayan ang ating programang For the People, By the People, Of the People. This is the People's Court.